If all you gridiron rookies think LT's name will fade away in the annals of history, boy, back off. With 2 Super Bowl rings and multiple NFL Players of the Years, he turned the fate of linebacker position from read and react to read and attack. His dominance and fierce gameplay didn't only lead him to the Hall of Fame, but also transformed the NFL defenses forever. LT was the quarterback's worst nightmare, and God help any quarterback who got in his way.
We gotta rush him, we gotta kick the what we gotta do is get in and get the all right, let's go.
From a college athlete to the greatest player in history, let's see how exceptional Lawrence Taylor was. If you ask me to tell you who LT was, I'd say dominant without a second thought. His athletic body, fearless expression, power poses, and the way he used to run with aggression, pushing everyone off just by the hit of his shoulder, made him an ultimate force to be reckoned with on the ground. Taylor's play was characterized by a revolutionary combination of speed and strength, allowing him to effectively rush the pass as well as defend against the run, an approach that forever changed the linebacker position. February 4th, 1959, who knew that the child born to Clarence and Iris Taylor in Williamsburg, Virginia, would alter the linebacker position of the NFL forever? Raised alongside 2 younger brothers, Lawrence Taylor was born in a working-class family. His father used to work as a dispatcher for a local trash company, and his mother was a schoolteacher. He was not an easy child from the start, and you know how these mischievous ones become the most successful ones, right? He is reckless, he is magnificent, and he is none other than LT, the only defensive player to win MVP in the last 50 years. 6'4" and 250 pounds of athletic rage, he was a Hulk with wheels. Fast enough to cover receivers, strong enough to torment offensive linemen, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. According to his mother, while the 2 younger sons asked for permission for everything, Lawrence always wanted to do his own things, and after we found it out, he already had a big story ready to cover that up. He spent his earlier years as a baseball catcher and never preferred football until the age of 15. His family always had to make ends meet, so he never had a lavish lifestyle growing up. Although his parents were struggling financially, one thing that they provided profoundly was their endless support. He was brought up in a closely knit family, which made him realize the power of human connection. Far from money, his parents tried their best to instill in him values of hard work, perseverance, and determination, the traits that helped him excel in his career as a football player in the future. Graduated from Lafayette High School in 1977 and going to the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill for further studies, he played defensive line and played there as captain of the team, but it didn't take long for the Tar Heels to realize they had a gem among them. Taylor was nicknamed Godzilla, not for the fierce way of playing, but for living too. North Carolina assistant coach Bobby Cale recalled his intense playing style, saying, "He leaped 6 or 7 feet in the air to block a punt before landing on the back of his neck. He was just reckless. Reckless!" Imagine getting these remarks from the mentor himself. It all started at the 1981 NFL Draft that was held at the Sheraton Hotel in New York, where they selected Taylor for the New York Giants as second pick.
New York Giants, first round selection, Lawrence Taylor, linebacker, North Carolina.
In a survey done by the general manager before the 26th draft of the league's 28 managers, they stated that if they had to pick, they would have selected Taylor in a moment. Now, if we talk about his career and his journey in the NFL, which is not what we can tell you in just one video, let's get into it. In 1981 brought him a fortune as he played his debut from the NFL against the Philadelphia Eagles, and he had one amazing rookie season following that year as well. He made 133 tackles and 9.5 sacks, earning him Defensive Rookie of the Year award. Just a year later, he earned NFL Defensive Player of the Year award with 7.5 sacks. Fast forward to 1986, Taylor had one of the best defensive seasons in NFL history. He led the league with 20.5 sacks, and he was the only defensive player chosen unanimously for the prestigious NFL MVP award. Furthermore, he was selected as Defensive Player of the Year for the 3rd time. The Giants finished 14-2 and defeated San Francisco and Washington by a total score of 66-3 in the NFC playoffs. In Super Bowl 21, the Giants overcame a poor start to overcome Denver 39-20. Taylor made a vital touchdown, handling a goal line play in the first half, halting Denver's quarterback John Elway as he ran out on a rollout. After the triumph, Taylor felt bad rather than delighted. Why? just because the controversies revolving around him and the pressure of the NFL that was put on him. In 1987, he sustained a hairline fracture on his right tibia versus San Francisco and continued to play the next week. If only there were anyone in the history of the NFL we can name as resilient, it was him. His instincts and ability to disrupt the tempo of the game set him apart from anyone else in NFL history. 1988 didn't start that well for him. However, he was the most famous player at the time, and controversies related to drug abuse started. He tested positive for cocaine and was suspended by the NFL for 30 days, and this was his second violation of the league's drug abuse policy. The information was kept confidential and out of reach of the media for a long time. But how long can bees hide in their hive? In the coming season, he came back like a lion and made some of the most memorable moments of the season. He played with a torn pectoral muscle against the New Orleans Saints, recording 7 tackles, 3 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. This is the reason he was called reckless. He was called crazy. TV cameras repeatedly panned to the sidelines, exposing him in extremely physical pain. Taylor already had a reputation for playing through pain. It was in a 1983 game against the Eagles when the team's trainers had to hide Taylor's helmet to prevent him from returning to the field. His shoulder was injured to the extent that he had to wear a harness to hold it there. The Giants won 13-12, and Parcells then praised Taylor's performance as the greatest game I ever saw.
Just managed to overcome it until finally the game was over. And I told him after the game, I said, that's the best I've ever seen you do. I think it's a signature game.
This was the impact of the gridiron greatness of one of the most electrifying players in NFL history. Taylor returned for the 1993 season, tempted by the opportunity to play under Dan Reeves, deciding an injury couldn't end his career. The Giants had a successful season in 1993. They finished 11-5 and battled for the NFC's top postseason seed. Taylor ended with 6 sacks, and the Giants' defense allowed the fewest points in the NFL. The last game didn't go as heroically as everyone thought. The next week, on January 15, 1994, in Taylor's last game, the San Francisco 49ers defeated the Giants 44-3. After the game, the cameras were focused on the weeping Taylor, where fans were chanting his name with wet eyes. Earning 1,089 tackles, 132.5 sacks, 2 touchdowns, 33 forced fumbles, 11 fumble recoveries, 9 interceptions, 134 return yards, and 34 fumble return yards. Despite the odds, Taylor ended his career as a king. A magnificent goodbye to the most celebrated and iconic player of history. Like Wayne Gretzky of hockey and Michael Jordan of basketball, Taylor was a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. He completely altered the fate of the downtrodden Giants. He revolutionized the way the linebacker position was played and changed the way it was perceived forever. He made millions of people fall in love with football. Taylor was the most dominant defender the NFL has ever seen. Opponents used to spend plenty of their time just making strategies to dodge him. Quarterbacks were seen calling timeouts just to slow him down. It was said when he used to run, he was like a mountain crushing everything that came in his way. Ron Jaworski of the Eagles once called a timeout when he couldn't handle Taylor across the line of tussle. This was his impact on the ground. How he played during Super Bowl 25 on January 27, 1991 is unforgettable. The New York Giants met the Buffalo Bills, and in the second quarter, Taylor changed the game. Taylor lined up opposite Buffalo Bills quarterback Jim Kelly on a pivotal third down play. Despite being blocked by multiple offensive linemen, Taylor pierced through him and delivered a crushing blow on Kelly, resulting in a turnover. The ball came to the Giants, shifting the game in their favor. This incident goes down history lane and depicts the true power of Taylor to disrupt the opposition's offenses by tenacity. Involving Taylor, the most horrible broadcast incident in NFL history was the one when he smashed into Joe Theismann's knee during a Monday Night Football game in 1985. The Redskins' quarterback's shin cracked forward as if it were hinged in the center. It was a terrible sight to see. Taylor quickly sprang up and began motioning for assistance. "It's not a moment I want to remember," he went on to say, "or see again." Taylor's reaction was unusual given his pain tolerance. No one knows why. It was January 3, 1982, when LT played an exceptional game against the San Francisco 49ers. During the NFC divisional playoff game, he had relentless pass rush pressure on Joe Montana, resulting in limiting him to 16 completions on 31 attempts for 179 yards and 2 interceptions. He rushed through the players, pushing everyone like Godzilla, proving why he was named so. His brilliant presence significantly contributed to defensive efforts and helped the Giants secure a 38-42 victory. It was surely a win by LT. If we try and tally up the number of games LT single-handedly made the Giants win, surely we might need more fingers to count on than even LT has sacks. Back in that time, audiences who got to see LT playing were considered lucky. Similar was the audience who got to see Lawrence Taylor facing the great running back and Walter Payton and the Chicago Bears multiple times on the field during the 1980s NFL season. Taylor's confrontations with Payton showcased his versatility as a defender beyond his usual pass-rushing responsibilities. He excelled in gaining some edge against Payton, limiting his explosive runs and forcing the Bears to adapt their game plan to not put a foot in LT's path. Because nothing he's ever hit remained resilient. If we talk about those matchups, Dan Marino and the Miami Dolphins from 1983 to 1992, those were the days when everyone started believing that not only is LT an exceptional defender, but also worked on his passing attack. He strategically applied pressure on Marino, which made the Dolphins deliver hurried throws and absurd passing times. Like always, his impact in that chaos resulted in some turnovers and stalled drives, highlighting how important LT was for the New York Giants. This is not the story of 1, 2, or 3 games. It's the story of every game in which he landed on the ground. He has the power to make the game rotate around itself. He had the power to grab attention of the crowd constantly. Well, if you're one of the unlucky ones who never got a chance to watch LT play live or can't imagine how it must have felt, you can take some young players' examples just to get a hint. You know how Lawrence Taylor's known for his lightning-fast speed and unmatched agility, terrorizing quarterbacks and disrupting plays with lightning-fast reflexes? His ability to cover the ground swiftly and pivot on a dime made him a nightmare for opposing offenses. If we observe some young players on the field, we can see Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins sharing LT's electrifying speed and agility on the football field, whether blazing past defenders on deep routes or eluding tackles in open space. Hill's explosiveness echoes LT's dynamic playmaking prowess, injecting incitement into every snap and leaving fans in awe with anticipation. Aaron Rodgers of the New York Jets has a knack for making clutch plays when his team needs him the most. You know how it was a notable trait of LT's gameplay, how he used to turn a game around with a strip sack or energize his team with a bone-crushing tackle? These young players are such hope for the NFL and a treat for the audience to watch as well. Whether engineering a game-winning drive in the final minutes or unleashing a pinpoint pass in a critical situation, Rodgers is mimicking LT for changing the course of a game with a single signature moment. You can't get the whole LT feel, but somehow you get glimpses here and there in the NFL. Who can forget the persona of the on-field presence of LT? Even though he retired in 2023, J.J. Watt of the Arizona Cardinals radiated a similar presence on the field. Watt, like LT, had undeniable defensive domination, which affected every play he was in. Watt's presence, whether rushing the quarterback, deflecting throws, or disrupting running lanes, commanded attention, similar to Taylor's intimidating effect at his peak. Both of them were blessed with an intangible quality that goes beyond statistics, making an everlasting impression on the game and the NFL, garnering the respect of fans and opponents alike for decades. Being the most feared and intimidating player in the NFL, he changed how everyone played the linebacker position. From a mediocre family to induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1999, we can simply say he was the first of his kind, precisely the only of his kind. Do let us know in the comments section about which aspect of LT's career inspires you the most. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to get more inspiring stories in the future.